Hi, this is Karthik and Mani. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Zenbridge. In this video, we're going to take a look at how to carry out EDI integrations if you're using NetSuite. If you're watching this video, most probably you are aware of what NetSuite is already, but I'll just go through it on a very high level. It is one of the world's most renowned cloud-based ERP. It is a unified business management system that offers features for finance, accounting, CRM, and e-com. And of course, it is customizable. So there's a lot more to it than what is being listed here. Um, when it comes to EDI integrations, NetSuite doesn't have an inbuilt EDI capability. So usually the way EDI integrations are done is by having an external EDI platform or a service and then connecting the EDI platform with your NetSuite environment. So that's how EDI integrations are generally done if you're using NetSuite. Now, when it comes to communicating with NetSuite, there are a couple of options. One, they give a SOAP-based interface to write and read data, and they also give you a REST-based API, which is much more preferred because that is what most modern day developers are used to. There are several advantages of using REST API over SOAP. I don't want to go into those details in this video, but you can generally assume REST based API is the safer option here. Now, we'll go through the REST API, NetSuite's REST API design on a very high level. First thing is it is a CRUD-based API. Basically, they have API endpoints to create, read, update, and delete records. As an example, we are looking at the API endpoint to fetch a sales order with the number 8689. Um, this is how the API URI looks like. The other thing that you need to bear in mind is the fact that they use this design principle called HATE-OAS. Basically, it stands for hypermedia as the engine of application state. I know it's a lengthy one, and I hope I got that right. Anyway, to give a very simplified overview of what it means, I have an example here. Let's say you're fetching a sales order. The sales that data in turn has subrecords like billing address, the customer information. Now, instead of giving the data in an expanded form, as you could see here, they have given a URI. So you need to follow this URI, make an API call to fetch the billing address of that particular sales order. So this is the design pattern they follow. Of course, there is an option to get this in one single shot. I think you need to send a query parameter called expanded, and I think you need to set the value as true. I don't want to get too technical here, but there are options to get the data in one go as well. But this is the design principle that they primarily follow. Now, NetSuite also has some other APIs which are still in beta phase. As you could see here, transfer order, return authorization, assembly item, and the other stuff that are listed here on this list are still under the beta program. And they also have a very interesting feature called Transform API. Basically, you can convert one record type into another. This is for convenience. As an example, you can convert a sales order into an invoice. So this is like a shortcut. Yeah, the only downside here is that it is claimed that they can scrap these features without notifying. So that is the only lingering threat. But otherwise, there have been cases where we have implemented these features and they work pretty well. So yeah, you need to do an analysis of what works for you and then take an informed decision. So, given all that, one of the primary things to understand is how do we track events that happen inside NetSuite? So, we can communicate this to our EDA system. For example, let's say, when an invoice is created, how does your EDA system know that an invoice is being created? So, traditionally, there are a couple of ways to do it. One happens to be webhooks. So webhooks, using webhooks, you can define callback API URI. So when a change happens inside your system, you could send that change to a particular API URI. So that's how webhooks work. The other not so elegant method happens to be polling your NetSuite environment periodically. It could be once every minute or it could be once every 30 minutes, depending on your process and convenience. And the third and interesting option happens to be something called Suite Script. Now, these are user event scripts that are executed on the NetSuite server. Now, you can basically execute custom scripts on events such as create, load, update, copy, delete, or submit. It is based on JavaScript, so it looks very similar to JavaScript. I think they have additional modules and features. But if you're familiar with JavaScript, you should be able to, handle it. It supports most of the it is supported for most of the standard records and custom records. The only exceptions are records that are used for storing personal identification, like driver's license or passport and things like that. So, polling is a simpler option, but if you want to explore more, and then if you're comfortable with JavaScript and if you can offer the time to understand how SweetScript works, you can very well explore that option as well. Now, given all this, I want to walk you through how to set up your NetSuite REST API. So there are 3 steps here. The first thing that you need to do is you need to create a role for your REST API so you can define the permissions and also you can list down the restrictions. And there are several levels as well. I mean, you can give a full permission for a particular asset, or you can give a view only or edit only. So there are several levels of permissions, and you can give permissions and you can restrict on transactions, reports, lists, setup. As an example, under setup, you can create access tokens and things like that, and also, custom record. Now, once you set up a role, the second step is creating an integration manager. Now, here's where you decide whether you're going to use a token-based system or a OAuth 2.0 system. Primarily, these are the 2 options when it comes to authenticating your API calls. Once again, the call is completely yours depending on which one you prefer. The third step happens to be creating an access token, and you create an access token with the integration manager, which you created on step 2, and then the role which you defined on step 1. You get a token ID and a token secret using which you can make API calls. So that's pretty much it with the NetSuite API. I want to walk you through what Zenbridge is very quickly. So Zenbridge is a cloud platform to send and receive EDI using API. That is where we are different from traditional EDI systems. You don't have to deal directly with EDI. You can send your data as an API, and we can convert that into EDI and forward it to your partners. Now, the advantage obviously here is the fact that you don't have to deal with EDIs directly, so you don't have to go through the steep learning curve of understanding EDI. This is how the integration between NetSuite and Zenbridge looks like on a very high level. So we have NetSuite on the left, we have Zenbridge sitting in the middle, and then on the extreme right we have your trading partners. So when it comes to sending EDI to your partners, you could poll for events inside NetSuite, or like I suggested earlier, you can use SweetScript to send them the data as an API call to Zenbridge. Basically, we are pulling data out of NetSuite. Now, what happens here is when Zenbridge receives an API call from NetSuite, we validate that data against your partner's compliance requirements, and if everything is fine, that gets converted into an EDI and gets into your partner. But if there are non-compliances, you get to know about it real time. So you're not going to send any non-compliant EDI to your partner. When it comes to receiving, let's say when your partner sends an EDI to Zenbridge, basically they are primarily connected to you through Zenbridge. When they send in an EDI file, we receive it on behalf of you on our AS2 mailbox. And every time we receive an EDI file on your behalf, we convert that into an API, into a JSON, and then we fire an API request to your NetSuite environment. So that is how you receive data or receive EDI to your NetSuite environment. So that's pretty much on a very high level. That's how sending and receiving works. Basically, to summarize this on a very high level, Zenbridge has an API, NetSuite has API. I mean, they had a couple of options, like I suggested, like I mentioned earlier, SOAP-based interface and REST-based interface. So that's how these two systems talk with each other. And here are the features of Zenbridge. It is ready to connect with all major US retailers and supermarkets. Basically, what it means is we have their EDA specifications already configured as API endpoints. And you have real-time complaints validation. This is because of the fact that we are an API-based system. So when you send in data, we can validate your data for partners' complaints in real time. And we are the only platform out there to support API for all XML and all EDIFACT documents across all versions. EDIFACT is a standard that is primarily used in Europe. XML is a standard that is primarily used in North America and rest of the world. So no matter where your partners are, we can support them. And then we have a dashboard inside Zenbridge that gives different views for different stakeholders. So if you're a operation person, there's a very user-friendly view. And if you're a developer, you can see all the raw data that came in and went out. So who can use Zenbridge? Well, if you're a retail brand dealing with retailers and supermarkets, if you're into transportation and logistics, and if your customers are expecting you to be EDA capable, or if you're another software company building your own ERP and you want to add EDA as a feature, you can use our API to bring in that feature into your software. So um, basically, there are no restrictions, but these are our primary customers so far. As I mentioned earlier, Zenbridge supports API for all XML and all EDIFACT documents, which in turn means that um, it could be applied for multiple industries. Could be supply chain, healthcare, doesn't matter. So here are more NetSuite resources. I'll list down these links in the video's description. Hopefully they're helpful to you. And that's pretty much it. So thank you for your time. And if you have any questions, please feel free to send us an email. And we would love to show you what we have. So, if you want to see or try Zenbridge, you can very well schedule a demo with us. Thank you so much for your time. Take care.